Hi there. It's great
Hi.
to be here with Antonia Rudenstine. Hey, Antonia, how are you?
Hey, Virgil. I'm great. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
I was thinking about the first time we had met, and it was in South Carolina shortly after they had launched this really great work around their profile graduate, and you were supporting their team. And geez, that was, I think, 6 years ago. So tell us a bit about what you're doing now. What is your team tackling?
That was such an exciting project in South Carolina, and we loved partnering. You were at KnowledgeWorks back then, and we loved that partnership, working with them to build their competency framework and then think through kind of how do districts and schools grow in competency-based education. And we've kind of over the 6 years, taken what we learned from that project and lots of other projects related to competency-based education. And we've been trying to think about how do we support the field in taking on this work, which is complex and usually multi-year, in ways that are more affordable and more sustainable and flexible, but also more in community. So we've been trying to really think about what are some of the blockades that people who do competency-based education as a school or a district or a network are running into. What do they tell us all the time that they're trying to figure out how to address both the challenges of CBE, but also the challenges of getting to learning CBE. So we're working on that. And that's our biggest initiatives right now.
Wonderful. So, what does that look like as a principal and superintendent that's been doing this work for a long time? There's a thirst for partnerships and tools and strategies that help make this a reality sooner. So, I love hearing that it's one sustainable and accessible as you're speaking towards. Like, what does that look like in partnership with you?
So what we just launched is what we're calling CBE Catalyst. And the idea of CBE Catalyst is that it's a professional learning online platform that has really flexible and adaptable pathways for learning. Often this work is either done kind of at a fully systemic level, like a district says, we want to hire redesign or KnowledgeWorks or anybody to help us do a systemic piece of work, or it's at the individual teacher level. A teacher's like, I'm going to read these blogs, or I'm going to try and understand this. There's something missing in between that, which is for teams, school-based teams, district-based teams, network-based teams who can come together to lead work at their school or their district or their network. And what we've found through all these years of working with districts in a kind of more hands-on way is that really this work happens in community. It happens in school-based teams, but it also happens really well when you can build a community of practice and people can learn from and with each other. So CBE Catalyst provides both of those. And then what it does is we have a roadmap for CBE and people choose their entry point. So there's not one entry point, there's not one start date. You enter with the challenges or the issues or the priorities that you have, and you move through a learning pathway in the way that works for your team. And part of what you're doing is also thinking about how do I take what I'm learning here and lead my school or my network or my district in this work. I have one leader that I'm working with really closely right now, and the way he described it is this, like one of the essential challenges of competency-based education for him, and I think though for many it will resonate, is you're in your own zone of proximal development in learning this. And while you're there, which is kind of an uncertain place, right? And can have anxiety and a sense of like you have curiosity and wonder, but you also have some worry like, am I doing it right? What do I need to do next? While you're standing in that place, you have to lead all these other people who are standing in that place as well. That is a really tricky thing for a leader to try and do. And so CBE Catalyst is trying to provide kind of the light guidance that people might need with lots of tools, supports, and entry points so that their zone of proximal development is the one that we're addressing, not what I think they should start at or what I know. It doesn't come out of my own sense of I know what's best here, but rather people know where they're standing and we need to ease the road. So that's the goal of CBE Catalyst. And we're trying to do it in a way that is incredibly affordable. So while the budgets are dropping and people are don't have ESSER funds anymore, and we're not sure what's going to happen with Title II funds from the federal government. This is a moment where people who are already on this path or want to be on this path need to be able to access stuff in really affordable ways. It needs to not just be affordable for a year, but for many years. Like as there's turnover, as there's new initiatives, you need to be able to kind of think in a really long-term strategic way about gaining access to support.
One of the many things I love about what you just shared is how learner-centered that is, right? It's modeling best practice. It's modeling what we know to be true for young learners, but for also us as adult learners, as we continue to refine our own skill sets. You provide a structure that allows us to do that, that targets our level of readiness and excitement as well for the work. That's amazing. That's incredible. Last year at the Aurora Symposium, you gave me a preview, and it was really exciting to see this work and to see how it exists and how easily accessible and ways that it kind of creates this multiplier effect in service of that team commitment that you referenced before. It's been a year now since I had that kind of sneak preview into this work. What's on the table for this year and beyond? What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, we have a few different things. So we're thinking of the challenges almost as like nested Russian dolls. So at the center is the learner, two different learners, right? There's young people, and they're the ultimate priority, and trying to think about what are the skills and competencies they really need to develop to create thriving lives. And we're living in this hyper changing, volatile world with AI, with climate change, with changes in politics. So I think it used to be kind of a settled matter of what young people needed to learn. It was like English, math, science, and social studies. We used to kind of have a sense of certainty about that. We don't anymore. Like we shouldn't anymore. But we still have to do things with young people, and we don't have the new system in place. In 2024, we put out a competency framework, the Future Nine. We updated it this year. We're now working on the next update. And I've started to kind of think about competency frameworks in this way, which is we have to almost think of them as software updates. That as new research comes out and as new trends happen in the workforce and higher ed and in community life, we have to be willing to look at, does the thing we're asking young people to learn and get good at still get them to thriving lives? Is it still the right set of things? What's missing? What needs to be added? And not hold that as we've missed the boat or we've done it wrong, but rather as the world changes, so should what young people need to learn. So that's the inside, that's the heart, right? Then CBE Catalyst kind of addresses the next piece, which is, and then what are the learning experiences young people need? So one of the things we're doing with some of the schools inside of CBE Catalyst is exploring how AI tools, different ones, knitted together, like pretty carefully with some pretty careful prompting, can lead to the development of learning experiences for young people that are really responsive to what their interests and needs are, not telling them, here's what you have to do, but more like given the frameworks that we know about what's important, where are your interests, where are your entry points. So we're working on that inside of CBE Catalyst with the schools that want to. Then we're working on the teacher side of things, building more pathways out and trying to address as many different pieces of CBE and system redesign as we possibly can. We're building out with more intentionality, thinking about district and state strategies inside of CBE Catalyst. So we have one district we're starting to talk to about, they have 40 instructional coaches. So they'll have school-based teams who are part of CBE Catalyst working to move things forward along the district priority, but then also like what do instructional coaches need to be able to support the educators, right? You can't put everybody in everything. It's not affordable. So how do you build capacity inside different pockets of leadership across districts to be able to roll something out across a district where the district owns their own learning about this? Like we don't own it, they own it. That's the next piece of the puzzle here, is like, so hitting at all the different levels of systemic work and bringing people together to work on that. So that's what we're doing this year.
Just a little bit of a goal setting there. Oh my gosh, that's so broad and so great and so exciting. And a piece that all of that is exciting, but just coming back to some of the original sharings you had there on continuing to evolve frameworks as you learn more, right? Which certainly educators leaders do on a daily basis. And you, again, continue to modeling that evolution and that commitment to learning. And I think we're surrounded by Maya Angelou quotes, but there's one that resonated for me or came up for me when you were sharing was when you know better, do better. And the same thing comes with our frameworks as we produce these things that we commit so much to, and then we sit on them for a number of years, as opposed to, oh my gosh, we're learning so much more from the field, from young people, from learning communities. Let's check and adjust based on those new learnings and the additional elements that you reference. This is so exciting. If people want to learn more about you, reDesign, and your work and how they can partner with you, where should they reach out to?
You can find us in a bunch of different places. On LinkedIn, you can just look up reDesign and you'll find us. On our website, it's redesignu.org. And you can also look specifically for the Future 9 competency framework or CBE Catalyst.
Wonderful. Antonia, it was so great to reconnect. Thank you for leading as a learner, for leading with purpose and humanity. I really appreciate you sharing some time with us.
Thank you so much, Virgil. It's been really great to chat with you.